and senior project nights and CTE fairs and before we know it, graduation. So it's a super busy time. I think everyone is just slammed and doing a great job keeping their heads above water and just working together to finish the year strong. So I want to, thank all my staff and all the support that uh, they've provided, and everyone just working together to get these things out to our students and make them happen. And I'll stop before I repeat myself.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll move to usual. And I got a phone call the next day, or a couple hours later after we scheduled, said that they can get a big truck here, so they needed to bring in two separate shipments. And I thought that was fine. And that following Monday, I got a call from the playground company who said that the playground was going to come in two shipments, but it was going to cost an extra $5,000, and they just unilaterally made a decision to bring it to their warehouse down in the Bay Area, and then they would bring it up to us. And in the meantime, the crew that was assigned to us got assigned to a different job. So I'm really disappointed because I think the extra money would have been worth it, because now I have to put all the wood chips on hold, and our students are not going to have a playground for an additional 3 to 4 weeks. So now the playground is coming on May 4th, I believe, and it should take 3 weeks to install. But, I think the students are surviving. They're being very patient, but I found it very frustrating that they changed the terms on us. Let's see, a couple of thank yous. I agree with Tobin. The AE week trips seem like a success, and I want to thank all the teachers for doing AE week again. I think that not only the trips that went away, but the ones that were held on campus, all the students were engaged, and I thought it was another successful AE week. And then I want to thank Jordan West for putting on a circus at the K8. It was really creative. They just put a full-on circus in the cafeteria on that little tiny stage, and took a ton of creativity in it. Fantastic. Also, I want to thank John Moran for
Every time
stage
someone's not
for
talking,
putting out the K8 film. We missed the scripts Howard can build up, but they didn't want to let a year go by, and John Moran called. So I want to thank those teachers for doing all that. The community center in Mendocino, we jointly applied for the ACES after school grant, and we got it. So we got $100,000 towards the after school program this year and next year. So they're going to be able to beef up their programming. We're also doing a summer program this year, so things are really looking good on the summer program aspect of things, or the after school as well.
The funding goes through us, or?
It does go through us. Yeah, so we're going to have to be responsible for the management of those funds and auditing.
Is that 2 years of 100,000 each year?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I spoke at the Rotary Club today. They had their monthly meeting, or I guess they meet twice a month now. And I was their guest speaker to talk about a state of the district. Really, really good. It was really fun to be up in front of group and about district and what we do, but also being really honest about some of the challenges we're facing, like chronic absenteeism, dwindling financial resources, declining enrollment, housing, and cost of living here on the coast. I thought it was a really good meeting. And, yeah, so I hope to do more of that kind of thing in the community. I don't know whether groups are out there, but I spoke at the League of Women Voters a couple of years ago, and they would want me back. but, had a good time doing that. That's it.
Okay. Now, is anyone from MTA online?
I don't see anyone.
Probably not from SEMA either. Board trustee reports? I just mentioned that I started teaching at this school now. This fall, it will be 49 years, so half a century ago. That's my only comment. So it's amazing to think. Well, it's a lead into your announcement of withdrawal. Yes, this will be my last Greenwood School visit. Lots of good memories. Lots of good memories. As I understand it, your intention is to resign effective June 30th. Right. We had to change it a little bit so that the Casper seat could get on the ballot. I'm trying to work out the boundaries of that so I can put up an ad around Casper, so that more people know about it. Right. Okay. Winsberg? No.
Last month I came down here to the preschool open house and it was fun. It was a fun day to see what Jessica does with the preschool kids here.
I don't have anything to add. A little bit before 5:30, so we'll go to 8.1 and get a construction update.
So the solar project is, as far as I can tell, nearing completion. They had the punch list that I emailed the board about. So I'm sure they're going through those items. I took a drive around the headlands just to see how if you could see the solar panels. I barely saw them. And I think they, with the panels on, it looks a lot better than what it did without the panels when it was just the frames there. So I think all in all, it looks good. Looks like we're going to get some sort of extension for the deadline. So, or not an extension, but we can apply when we're totally done, and we're going to meet the requirements to get the NEM, what is it, NEM 2.0 or whatever. So that's good. We are still in a holding pattern at the drinking water project. There was a mix-up, I guess, in the design, and so DSA is still weighing in on that. But in the meantime, the recycled water project has started with some, I believe, trenching, and I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but they're all over town, maybe just marking and just they're mobilizing. So work has started on that project, which is very exciting. Yeah. And for the phase 3 projects, Ruben is working now on the opposite, on the north side of the band room. That window, those set of windows are going to be replaced. And then he's finished with the railing that goes up to the PAC. The wood shop east side is all finished. And we met with the community high school teachers yesterday to discuss the flooring there. We're going to replace the tile flooring. Last year we did the carpet. So he's going to be doing that job starting July 1st, but we're going to get all the materials in place. I'm not sure if anybody knows if those tiles are asbestos. I would think not, because it was done in 92 and 93.
Done after that.
But I am getting them tested. We do have a guy coming on Monday to take some samples just to make sure.
I would say that would be pretty highly unlikely, but they are.
Yeah, we did the
testing is relatively affordable. So.
Yeah, just to calm some minds. And then I would like to get the floor done in the main classroom here as well at the preschool over the summer. So that's what I have for the construction updates.
All right. Any questions for Jason? I was going to ask if we know approximately when our solar panels will be online with PG&E.
I haven't heard. Do you know?
No, the last I heard was when they let us know that they didn't have equipment to handle it, and then Centrica had mentioned inquiring if they could maybe take it at a reduced volume. And I never heard a follow-up from that. That would be probably appropriate to follow up on.
Okay.
They did, I believe they did, they gave some ridiculous PG&E-like timeline of up to 2.5 years or something to upgrade they claimed they didn't have the appropriate equipment up at the Little Lake substation to handle the influx of generation that our system was going to produce.
Okay.
So will you be able to report back next month on that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to 8.2, the Interact Club Coast to Cure Bikeathon.
Diana's online to provide information and answer any questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. You
Great.
have a presentation, or are you just gonna speak to us?
Sure. I don't have I have a flyer I can screen share if that's a possibility, or I can just email it to all of you guys.
I think
Flyer.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So I've been the Interact Club advisor for the past 2 years. And this year, the proposal from our president was to do a bikeathon to raise money for cancer research. So Max Oatney, as you guys are familiar with, or board member or student representative on the board, his grandfather used to do this bike ride to San Francisco, and his grandfather passed away of cancer. And so, sort of in honor of his grandfather, he wanted to plan this bike ride to raise money for cancer research. We have a group of 5 students who are on board and who've been doing a couple of training bike rides. The plan is over Memorial Day weekend to ride 40 or 50 miles, maybe a little over 50 miles some days. The first stop in Gualala, and our Rotary Club has been in contact with Gualala Rotary, and there's some tentative plans for us to spend the first night at the Redwood Coast Medical Center there in Gualala in a conference room, and then continue on, and then another night just outside Bodega Bay, and then finally bike all the way across the Golden Gate Bridge. And then we'll drive home. I'll be following the students in a van, and we're going to use one of the 8E week trips is mountain biking. And so Derek has offered, they have a 6 bike rack. So we're going to use their bike rack, hook it up to the van like they do for AE week, and I'll be kind of following along their route and checking in and supporting them as they need. For safety, we didn't want them to ride with their tents and sleeping gear, so I'm going to have all the gear in the van for when we're sleeping. But that's the plan.
Great. So what does the board need to do? We need to authorize this trip and qualify it for extra risk insurance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were asking her or me.
All right. So does someone want to make a motion to that effect?
I will so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Aaron?
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Boyd?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to 8.3, which is the proposal to have third graders currently at the Albion and COMSI schools to attend the KA school instead. And I don't, Kim, did you want to give a general reason why you're recommending this?
Yeah, so this is something that came up through discussions with Alice and Amanda. The kind of demands put on teachers have been growing and growing, as we all know. But one of the big, I think, immediate effects is the kind of broadening of the age of the TK students. So taking us way back, TK was originally designed for a 1-year kind of stopgap because they were pushing the age to enter kindergarten up, so you had to be 5 basically before September 1st. And so there was a big lobby thing that had happened, and parents were concerned about that. And so they created this thing called transitional kindergarten. We'll have it for the students who before possibly would have qualified for kindergarten between, their birthdays between December and that September 1st deadline. It ended up being a big hit, and so they kept TK, and for the last, I think, 10 years, they've been kind of in this holding pattern, and then in the last 5, they want to beef the TK program, kind of instead of funding universal preschool or that type of thing, they wanted to add TK as a grade to public school. And so what they ended up doing was, over the course of the last 5 years, increasing the age range of the TK program. So now you have to turn 4 by September 1st. And so because we start in mid-August, some 3-year-olds come in. So the broadening of that age range. And there's been a big push with our state, which I wholeheartedly agree with, about really pushing play-based TK program and not having it be kind of the general K-12 school system where they're sitting in desks or paid attention to, or just doing school activities. So I would say this, in combination with kind of the demands being put on teachers to adhere to standards, we were discussing all of this, and one of the first things that came up was, could we possibly have a centralized place to have TK? That makes it difficult then, because if that's at the K-8, then do we bump them back out in kindergarten to Albion and Comsci? And that didn't seem to make any sense. And so we were discussing what the possibilities were. And it seems like the transition between 2nd and 3rd grade is kind of a natural gap. The curriculum changes from, in ELA, from Super Kids to Great Minds. Students are transitioning from learning to read to reading to learn. It's kind of state testing begins in 3rd grade. There's kind of all these things that make 3rd grade just kind of a natural transition. So we thought that maybe that might be a good idea. One of the other things playing into it is, for the last couple years, and we want to continue on with it, we've had 3rd, 4th grade combination classes at the K-8. And so students were coming in the middle of that combination. You have a group of kids who are moving together, and they would come in the 4th grade. And so we're thinking that coming in 3rd grade might benefit them through that side of things as well. There was one other thing I just thought of. Just to put it out there, last year we did not have any 3rd graders at Comsci School, and with Rebecca going on kind of an emergency medical leave, and we had a sub all year, I ended up asking the 2nd grade families to come in to make it easier to teach for a substitute for the year-long thing. So last year and this year we don't have 3rd graders in Comsci as of yet, just as a note. Currently, we have 1 2nd grader in Comsci and 4 2nd graders in Albion. So just in case you wanted to know that number, that would be potentially rolling over to 3rd grade.
So I noticed, in the survey that you sent to stakeholders, that at least in Comsci, the parents of 2nd graders were pretty opposed to this plan. And it's unusual for us to force parents to change schools. For example, we don't require people in say the Little River area or the Albion area to go to the Albion school. Lots of school districts do have feeding zones, and you don't have a choice. But we've not done that. Why are we making an exception to that and requiring students whose parents don't want their kids to go?
Personally, I feel like it is pedagogically beneficial to those students. I know that there is a cost plus thing to weigh. I think that it's harder for your parents of younger students to have their children go further away from home. I think that it is very challenging to teach 5 different grade levels with 1 teacher and 1 aide. And so I think that it's something that I thought, why not bring it up to the board and see what they think about it. I think it's something that we could try and see how it's going and go from there. I don't think it's something that has to be set in stone forever. I know I talked to one parent, and they were very concerned that this was a kind of lead into closing down Albion and Comsci School. I don't feel that way. at all. I feel like for the demands on the teachers and what is expected of students in this moment in time, that it's something that I recommend trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's some people online who want to speak. Does anyone on the board want to speak before we turn it over to the?
Us first?
Yeah.
Okay. I agree that pedagogically, I really strongly feel it needs to be done. I don't think the age span or grade span is accurate in terms of reality, because before you turn 5, you mature at much different rates than between the age of 10 and 11. It's much faster, much wider. The gap between skill levels is much bigger than that group of years, and I just think pedagogically, for one teacher to deal with all of that, for one group of children to have that great a range, is not the best way to educate. What a 4-year-old, I won't add in the 3-year-olds, that's only a month or two, but even there, you're learning so much more before you turn 5 than after you turn 5 in a short period of time. And I just, trying to imagine a teacher and an aide dealing with that span of skill is not pedagogically wise. I don't think anywhere at any time for a whole school day. I mean, you know, for a period here or a period there, the older kids can help the younger kids, but it's just not the same when you're 4 years old. And I'm really glad that we have 4-year-olds coming to school. I think that's wonderful. It's probably the most important time in their whole education as far as I'm concerned. And I think that needs to happen in an environment that's more able to focus on their needs as opposed to a wide span, or a wider span.
Wind Spirit, do you have anything?
Well, I'm curious to hear what we have, what comments we have. My initial response is it's kind of along the lines that what you spoke to, Michael, is that I don't support requiring these grades to move in. In fact, I lament the fact that these small schools used to go through 5th grade. I do recognize what you spoke to, Kim, and you are speaking to, Mark, about the challenges of educating the even younger students. And I know that we've discussed that not just as it affects the outlying schools, but at our primary campus as well. But that notwithstanding, with our population as it is, having a viable program in these outlying schools is, I think, is going to become even more challenging if we continue to reduce the grades that we're serving there. So that's my initial take on it, and I'm curious to hear and have further discussion.
Yeah.
I think I'll hear what the public has to say and go from there.
Aaron, would you ask people online to raise their hands if they want to speak and call on them?
Shannon, go ahead.
Shannon, you can speak now if you turn your microphone on.
Shannon, we can't hear you. Anne Marie, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thanks for accepting public comment. I was amazed that it took a while to put the right agenda on the webpage. That's not helpful for interested people. That got corrected, I'm glad. What I was missing is that the public doesn't have information about the survey, what was said in the survey, and what the parents commented, whether all the teachers commented or only some. And it seems that would be nice to have with the backup material, which I didn't find. What wasn't clear, I did get a hold of one of the comments, but it wasn't clear which children attend Albion School, which children attend the Comchi School. That would really help. And it seems like the two column, one was, yes, do you want to come, or no, you don't want to have your child go to Mendocino. And then the other almost contradicted what people were saying, their gut level or their, the problems was busing and timing and gas money and so on. So it's a tricky issue, I understand. The outlying schools, some of them even went to 9th grade at some point, and Albion had 4 schools at one point, and kids from Comchi were bused in one year and then kept back the other because of the numbers, and it's difficult to juggle. So I really agree that if we are having 4-year-olds and maybe even some that are 3 and then turn 4, that whoever is teaching, if you hire a new teacher at these sites, the teachers are amazing and we're lucky to have them, but it would be nice to have a teacher with an early childhood degree, like Jane Corey and Judy Stavely had years ago. I also feel people should have the choice whether they're going to send in their 3rd graders or not, because there's so many different issues that need to be considered. And up until now, people had the choice to enroll whether they want to go to Albion or Mendocino, or it used to be, when my kids were in school, some went to the Wells School, some went to Elk, and some went to Mendocino, and some were homeschooled. So choice, I think, is important. And I'm also concerned that, there is maybe a danger down the road with funding issues that certain schools will no longer be school sites. I listened to the tape, the Zoom about the preschool in Elk, and I thought advertisement was going to happen with the idea of a June 1st deadline. I haven't seen any advertisement for the preschool in the Greenwood preschool. So I'm really hoping that you are supporting parents' choice and listen to their needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Try Shannon again.
Shannon, are you there? Shannon?
She's logged in.
Shannon, if you still want to talk, would you raise your hand again?
Is there anybody else who's we're waiting for? Just Shannon?
I don't see anyone.
I'm gonna try to see if I can pull up an email that she wrote and read that instead. If she can't get online, let's see.
Hello? Hello? God damn it. Fuck. Hello? Please. I cannot believe this is happening. Hello? Hello?
I can hear her at home. I can hear her now. Just
I can hear her.
Oh, thank God. I can't believe this is working. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience. Oh, thank God. I can't believe
Hi,
this is
Shannon.
working. Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for your.
But now she's
Okay. Please tell me if you can't hear me anymore, because I can't hear myself. Okay. Please tell me.
We can hear you. Just
Okay. So it's really important to me, and also for most of the community, I would say, that the school exists. So, however, most of the community, I do feel like if we are gonna transition to this and give it a try to have the third graders be in Mendo, that I would like to see some kind of better transition, because when I asked about how it would go for my child, for instance, I was just told that I would be welcome to pick my child up from school when it ended, or have him go to the rec center, or have him. I feel like there's got to be a better way. I can't think of a better way, but I don't know that we all want to use the rec center, and I don't know that picking my child up after school every day is an option. So I'm hoping that maybe there can be some better choices, or maybe there is a choice. Maybe school can, I don't know if we can change the school time, the ending time. I don't know if we can change the school time, the ending time. But I do appreciate that everyone's thinking outside the box and trying to figure out something. But I do feel like most people that I speak to in Comchi are interested in keeping the school here and open and using it. And I know that a lot of people are getting pregnant. I mean, it's not just affecting the people that are there currently. So I just want to keep everyone in mind, because I don't know that if anyone else in the community is going to speak tonight, but we do appreciate it. And a lot of people go to volunteer at the school. I think it's not just the kids there, like people meet and they take walks after school or before school, and people actually were asking the teacher Alice if there was something that we could do to help out, with the younger kids as they come in. Like, we're willing to get involved if that's what it takes, but I'm just trying to think outside the box, and maybe there just needs to be a little bit more thought put into it. But I feel like communally, anything can work, but maybe try to figure out a better transition if the kids are going to be bused in to third grade, because it's a lot of extra commute time, I would say. I don't know how I would do it if I had to pick them up. I'm just not sure how it would work out, not just for me, but, for all the people who live even farther out than I do. So, not just for me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yep.
Is there anybody else who's online waiting to address this?
I don't see anyone.
So as I see it, we have a problem in the sense that the state has mandated an extra grade. And so our model of kindergarten through third grade is now stretched at the lower end. And so the staff is proposing that we adjust that by moving the third grade into the K-8 campus. I think, to me, that there are concerns, and a new one that just surfaced with Shannon's call about transportation. Because we don't have transportation at that hour at the time third grade is over back to Comshy or Albion. They have to hang out in Mendocino or be picked up by parents, which is, to me, a pretty upsetting set of choices from a parental point of view. I personally think that we should leave it up to parental choice. And if we make it attractive, then that works. If we don't make it attractive, then it doesn't work. But I don't think we should compel families to make this transition. You gave the example of when Rebecca was on sick leave and we had a long-term substitute. And we asked parents to volunteer, and they did. But I get a different sense this time in terms of the attitude about parents, at least in Comshy, about whether they want to volunteer. I know all these things are driven by numbers, but I echo what Winspirit said, that if here we are, we're judging these outlying schools on their successes, the number of students that they have, and then you're going to take off 20% of the capacity by taking one of the grades away, and then you're going to say, well, you don't have enough students, and it's a cycle that I worry about. So I guess in summation for me, I would be comfortable with something that was voluntary but not mandatory. Any other comments? You want to start again, Mark?
I wanted to make a point that we're not reducing the program by a grade level. We're just putting the grade level at the other end. And it's still the same number of grade levels and the same number of staff. And I would add to that, look at Greenwood. When I was teaching here, there were 30 to 36 children in grades kindergarten through 5. The 8 years I was here. That's a different world than what we're, as a board, have been coping with for the past 10 or 15 years. I forget when we closed Greenwood School. But there becomes a time when you have to make certain decisions based on numbers and what you can do. And I feel like parent points of view are really important. I feel like board points of view are really important. But I feel like the staff has a very different view of what it's like to be in a classroom before we had a TK of 4-year-olds up to much older students in kindergarten. That is a huge range in student ability to cope with a program, and in different needs for different programs for a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. That's like the difference between a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old. I'm exaggerating to some degree, but not that much. Little children grow at an incredible rate, and there's such a span. And if you're talking about one teacher, and then it's one thing if you're doing that in a TKK at Mendocino Grammar School where there are all these other resources, and you're doing that in a TKK, I'm not adding the other 2 grades even, at an outlying school where you don't have all those other resources. And having taught at this school, and I actually taught at Compton School for a couple of weeks even, you don't have special ed, or you don't have it the same way. You don't have somebody to mow the lawn as often even. I mean, there's just a range of services that are not available at a small outlying school. There are all kinds of situations that come up where you need more staff. And so I just think from a pedagogical point of view, and from just a human point of view, thinking about a child that age, it's just too wide a span. And I think that that doesn't solve the problem of distance. This district is, given the size it has and the small number of students it has now, we have to deal with what we have, and there just isn't enough to do all of that effectively.
The agenda says recommendation. So is it a recommendation or is it a requirement if we were to approve it?
No, it's a recommendation. I mean, if I could speak a little bit about it. I'm basing my recommendation on what the teachers have asked for. They're in the room every day. They're doing the work. Parents aren't there. You're not there. I'm not there. I'm here to just really support the teachers. If they're telling me that this is this could be done in a better way or this isn't working, then that's what I'm going to support. But if you say no, I'm not going to lose any sleep, and I don't think Kim is either. And we're going to go on with our day, and we're going to support our teachers the best we can. So that's purely why that's a recommendation. That's all. Because they're the ones on the ground doing the work every day. But no one, just to be clear, no one is suggesting that we close the schools. This is not a first step to close the schools. That's not at all what this is. These are our teachers who love these schools making this recommendation. So that's what it is. But we also face the dilemma of when to say yes to transfers every year. We have usually multiple applications because they don't, for some reason the parents don't want them to attend one of the outlying schools, and we often feel that, and it's a tough thing because we want to keep students actually at Albion School, and we want to keep students at Comptree School. So if we say yes to too many of them, then that is one of the reasons why we say no, to keep these schools viable.
And I guess I would just say one more thing, in that I do not want TK and K on those buses. That's too much. Looking at it from the other point of view, that's the end where it's most important that they be at those outlying sites.
Mm-hmm. I don't know whether we can craft a motion that will get 3 votes.
Is there a real time issue with this in terms of having 5 board members present?
Yeah, I don't know. I think teachers are so focused, I would think, about finishing this year that they're not really focusing on next year yet. So maybe there's another month. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Kim? I mean,
I think if we're going to,
Oh.
I think general no big rush, but I think the sooner the better, so families can plan accordingly if there are these things.
yeah, and if there's a suggestion for more of a transition, like Shannon was saying, then we could plan for that.
Well, mean, I'm thinking one of the things, I mean, if you're gonna provide a van that's gonna take them from class, this third grade ends at 1 something?
2:20.
2:20. Instead of having to wait until 3:30, that's, you know, that might be a step in the transition direction. Or if you, again, if you make your best case and make it voluntary and see how that falls.
We could extend the day and have third graders go until 3:30.
Or extend the day and have
3:20.
third graders to go until 3:30.
No, Kim just gave us that.
So, I mean, I guess, you know, if we don't take action today, I'd like to see some more fleshing out of what the options are for
Well,
families.
I don't know if that's going to be, I mean, as far as the transportation goes, we're going to have 2 bus drivers and 2 van drivers, and there is a limit of how many hours they can drive. So we could look at that. But I don't know.
Well, would you rather, you know, I think that we could entertain a motion to just make it voluntary and,
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and then that would make it, you know, possible for staff to be persuasive and get the same result.
yeah.
Without forcing anybody.
I mean, the next item we talk about, or soon we're going to talk about the class sizes, the class size limits, and the class size limits for third grade are 20. So, you know, it might not be possible if there's already 20 for a transfer.
Mm-hmm. But here you are mandated. I mean,
Well, if
whatever
it's,
I can
if
do.
they're already in, if they're already here,
Yeah.
if that's what we do, then that's different than accepting a transfer and putting us over the class size limit.
Right.
I think it's, I guess my only further comment is I think it's disingenuous to say that this isn't, well, I'm not necessarily you or you, Kim, are wanting to close the schools to say that it doesn't play into that. Because, again, with the populations that we have, we pull a grade away, and the fluctuation that we have, then even if it doesn't come from anyone in this room, and the numbers drop to whatever that threshold is, and people start saying, well, why are we maintaining a school in these outlying areas? And you're right, the state added a grade, we didn't take one away, but we're debating shifting a grade on. We had no choice on the state side, and we have a say on this side.
I think we're going to be deciding this every couple years because circumstances are going to keep changing.
That's true.
I don't think we can promise X, Y, or Z
No.
at the moment, given district size.
True. Right. I guess I'm more interested in hearing about how can we vitalize these schools, how can we support the teachers that are there, how can we build on the uniqueness that outlying schools are, not pull a grade level because of the challenges. And granted, I'm not a teacher, I haven't been there. My opinion might change differently if I sat in on a few classes.
Well, and what do you do when it gets down to 3 kids? You know,
Right.
Well, we're not close
no
to
matter
that.
what your point
We're
of
not
view
close
is,
to that.
there's a point for any board member
Right.
in any year.
Right, but we're not close to that. in
No,
either
we're not.
of the options.
But we were at Greenwood.
Hmm.
We were at Albion at one time and we chose to keep it open. And they came.
But again, if our primary goal was to nurture those schools, we would have forbidden transfers from Albion to the K-8, regardless of reasons. And we've not done that.
Well,
It seems to me that we have the capacity, if we have the capacity to force parents to move their third graders into the village, we have the capacity to force those same K-3 students who live in Albion to go to the Albion school.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would like to take away in a way, is because it makes it, we're not being consistent on that message.
Mm-hmm.
Take away the option for them to transfer.
Transfer into the K-8 if we want them to be a vital school, or to keep the schools full of kids, you know. I'm not hearing like an easy answer here, so I don't know about Kim, but I'm happy just to not even table it and just revisit this in the future sometime. I mean, I don't think that you're right. I don't think there's going to be a vote that gets a 3-1 necessarily, but you know, in the survey, it wasn't exactly like a slam dunk. It was very.
I think I counted one more opposed to than in favor of the parents that had kids. I
Sure.
kind of ignored the rest because I feel like that was I mean, not to ignore the teachers, but that was where I did my quick
they've already had
statistics.
their-
Yeah.
And then
Difference between Albion and Comchi. I think there was.
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't notice that. I didn't pick up on that. I just went down the yes, no's, and
Yeah.
counted them up.
And then some of the concerns, even though they said yes, they were still concerned. So I mean, I think it's a good discussion. I'm not, you know, leaving here with bad feelings at all. I think it's a great discussion to have, and something that we should probably do frequently. You know, and I love what Wind Spirit said. How can we better support them? I mean, we probably can't do much more with the current staff there, but you know, the more music we offer, the more art we can offer, the more of that kind of stuff.
Well, and we've had situations in the past where we've had, you know, maybe 4 or 5 more students where we've had 2 aides instead of 1 at both campuses. You know, and obviously with 2 aides, you'd have a much better opportunity to serve that, you know, grade differential than you do with just 1 aide.
I really wish also that there was some way to get a much deeper communication from school staff as a whole, because speaking for the past decades, there's been a constant conversation that's not necessarily known to the school board among staff members in the district about these situations with different points of view. And it's coming from a different perspective. You know, what Wind Spirit was mentioning, these are the people in the trenches, the people that have had the training, the people that are experiencing these children. And, you know, I remember things I experienced when I was teaching down here, and I would bring a group of kids in to visit the 4th grade in Mendocino, and the teacher would be having a social studies discussion, and I would be going, oh my God, they can have an actual discussion in their classroom. We didn't have enough kids in the room to really get that going down here. That's just one example. I can give you examples on all sides of this issue. But I just feel like looking at the pedagogical point of view is really important. And I think it's more important than Jason's point of view or our point of view or the parents' point of view. You have to include everybody. But I just think that's a voice that doesn't get heard as deeply and clearly, and those are the people with the most experience.
So we're just going to do nothing. We're going to table the discussion, and you'll bring it back if you feel the need.
Sure. I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Go back to parent community comment. If there's anybody who's here to address an item that's not on the agenda, please make your presence known to Aaron, and we'll let you speak for 3 minutes. Is there anybody so motivated?
I don't see anyone.
All right, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is, oops.
Oops.
not the
We
agenda.
have one.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anne Marie.
It's almost impossible to hear any of you. If you talk into your microphone and you speak loud, then the public can hear you. Please do that. Thank you.
Sorry, Anne-Marie. We're going to go on to 8.4. Consideration of and possible action on resolution 2026-04, initiating the proceeding from the Maintenance Assessment District. It's a multi-month process that we go through, and this basically is what's behind the parcel tax for $30 that's on your tax bill every year. Is there any questions about,
I was just alerted that the date is wrong for the May board meeting, so all the May 15s should be switched with May 21.
okay. Thank you.
So just when we approve it
Yep.
with those changes.
Any other questions before we bring this to a vote? Hearing none, we'll be voting on Resolution 2026-04 and all the dates regarding the May board meeting should be changed to May 21st instead of May 15th.
I'll move to approve
Second.
2026-4 with the dates amended.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Morton,
Aye.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
Trustee Bloyd,
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer,
Yes. 8.5, consideration of Resolution 2026.
No,
There's a typo there. I know, it says 2022, but we know it's at 2026-05. Specification of election order. We referred to this earlier. And there are 2 full-time seats and 1 part-time seat. I mean, not part-time, one seat to fill the last 2 years by an appointee. And then that's what we know at this point. And then once Mark's resignation becomes official, then that seat will also be up for election in the fall. So there'll be 4 seats on the ballot in November. So do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2026-05?
I will so move.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you, Mark. Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Morton,
Yes.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
Trustee Bloyd,
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer,
Yes. 8.6, class size limits for 26-27. According to Board Policy 6151, the board will establish class size limits on a yearly basis as related to inter-district and intra-district transfers. You're recommending any change to what we have been using?
Yeah, I am. So the policy doesn't state the numbers in it. And since we do this on an annual basis, I'd like to recommend that we bring the policy forward in May with the actual numbers in there, and then we can change it, because every year, Aaron, I have to go back to Aaron and say, what were the numbers again? And we have to look at the board meeting. I think it'd be beneficial for us to actually have the numbers, but also I'm seeing that we don't have TK on here. So we should have a TK number on there, which is not going to be 20. It's going to be lower than 20. So I'd like to bring this back in May, and I can talk with Kim about a recommendation for the TK and to put these numbers in the policy.
All right, so we'll table that till next month.
But I guess actually, now I'm going back on what I said. I do think though that you should approve these numbers because I have to do transfers on May 1st.
Okay.
So we have to have some number that
So
we
what are the
base it on.
numbers?
So for K through 3, it's 20. For 4th and 5th grade, it's 22. For 6th through 8th grade, it's 25, and high school is 28.
Okay. So can someone make a resolution to approve those class size limits for these purposes?
I move that we approve those class size limits for those purposes.
Second.
Second, moved and seconded. Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Morton,
Yes.
Trustee Ohm,
Yes.
Trustee Bloyd,
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer,
Yes.
Are there any class size state regulations for TK?
There are the limits for how many staff you need, and I bet Kim would know that better than I would.
Yes.
Do you know the numbers?
10 to 1.
So it's 10 to 1, and that's 10 to 1. So if you have an aide, that would be a 1, right? One of the. Okay. Thanks.
All right. So our meeting is at the high school on the 21st. Anything that we want to look forward to discussing that hasn't already been discussed or on our list?
Just a mention of the
upcoming board meetings for the second half of the year? Are those going to be?
So yeah, to update the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did. That's a good point. We did modify the board calendar so we didn't have a year and a half on there because it got confusing. So yeah, we can do that. We'll bring the board calendar. Thanks.
Okay, all right. That's it, so we'll adjourn. Thank you.
I did find out from